down to business.
When he drinks, he thinks.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the #1 liquid-fueled, liquid lubricated show on the interwebs. This is the Whiskey Musings Broadcast. And I'm going to have to tell you, you know what? Rumblers, you are now like almost exactly right on with Facebook folks. So everything that Facebook sees, Rumble is like right behind it. I mean, just to the point where I don't even think there's like a half a second, honestly, between the two of them right now. So this is fantastic. All right. I have got a bunch of stuff to go over with you tonight. So first of all, welcome to all of my Whiskey Warrior P1s and all those who are guests who have come here to check out the program from other places, such as Wendy Bell Radio and the Battleground with Sean Parnell. Battleground Live, I should say, with Sean Parnell. I also see a couple other people that have just been kind of hanging out in listening, but apparently they popped in and have said hello. For an example, Rich 2E over on Rumble. Welcome back. I know you listen and watch, but don't necessarily jump into the chat. And of course, I have my usual miscreants over on Facebook with Mark and Becky, who have popped in there. Hey, so tonight I have some interesting stuff for you when it comes in with regards to the entire thing with the Carrie Lake. For those of you that may not have known the Carrie Lake, there was some audio that was released here just recently that kind of puts a very different spin on the entire setup when it comes to politics. And it's both parties, folks, both parties. This happens across the board with both parties. It's not just one. The other thing too, the Texas border thing is heating up big time. For those of you that may not know, Texas has, Governor Abbott put out a statement today. I'm not going to get into the statement, but I am going to talk a little bit about that. We also have a couple other things, and just a couple other things that are out there as well, in terms of the quote-unquote insurrection and all of that. And it's going to get nasty, folks. It's going to get nasty. There's going to be some threats and things like that. I'm telling you, January isn't even over yet, and we've already got some really nasty stuff going on the social media, as well as other stuff. So, got lots of things to do. But first, really 100%. I don't know if anybody knew, or, you know, we talked about this, about the two SEALs that went missing. They have now been declared dead. And as always, here on this program, I want to honor their memory. So tonight, to start off the program, I would like for us to take a couple of minutes to honor Nathan Ingram and Chris Chambers. Both of them went ahead and they unfortunately, you know, one of them slipped off the boat and fell into the water. The other one, per protocol, jumped in after him, and they unfortunately haven't, their bodies haven't been recovered. They called off the search and have now essentially declared them dead. So if you would please, I am going to play taps for them tonight. And if you could just go and take a second and maybe give them a prayer or something along those lines. So, yes. So if you would take your hat off, bow your head, say a prayer for these two and their families, especially, in terms of them hopefully they'll find their bodies and give them an actual burial. These are two highly trained operators who sacrificed their lives in a operation over in the Middle East. So here we go. And of course, our prayers go out to their families and friends. And folks, it's a sad thing, but unfortunately, that is what they were trained to do. They died in the line of duty. And the only thing I can hope for, realistically, is that if their bodies are recovered, that if Joe Biden is still president, that he can give them the honor that they deserve by at least freaking standing there and not looking at his fucking watch. Anyway, gentlemen, we honor you, and prayers go out to the family. Okay. So let's get back to the show. Let's go ahead and start with, of course, tonight being, it's Whiskey Wednesday. It's like Taco Tuesday, but for badasses. Which all the Whiskey Warrior P1s are, whether they drink whiskey or not. So anyway, and of course, because it is kind of a celebration, I guess, in a bit, because of what Texas is doing, I am finishing off my 1776 bourbon. There's nothing left in the bottle. You can't see all the way through, but believe me, because it's a very dark bottle, but believe me, it is empty, totally empty here. And I am drinking it out of my patriotic True Grit Roots Network glass for tonight. And good stuff. It's good stuff. All right, so let's talk a little bit about True Grit Roots Network. True Grit Roots Network, tgrn.net. Come on, y'all. Come and check us out. We have a fantastic lineup, and we just added a couple of brand new shows as well. You should go and check us out, tgrn.net. You can download our app, or you can find us on the Live 365 app and the catalog of digital radio stations there. You can also play us on your Amazon Alexa by saying, play True Grit Roots Network from Live 365. Again, make sure that you use the word from in the command. Play True Grit Roots Network from Live 365. She may take a minute to find it, but she's going to go, and she will play it for you, hopefully. We have just got a fantastic lineup of on-air personalities that bring you an angle of the blues that no one else in this earth can. And so come and join us. We've got programs like Music on the Couch, which is on Mondays. On Tuesdays, we've got Mighty Mouth Blues. On Wednesdays, we've got Wednesday Night Juke Joint. We have From the Delta to Beale on, I think it's Thursdays. Could be Fridays. I'm not sure exactly which. We kind of shifted things around in order to add stuff in. But let me tell you, we have just got a fantastic lineup. And then, of course, on the weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays, we have, for Saturdays, we have a lot of our shows that will go and do a encore presentation. So if you miss something during the week, you can pick it up on the weekends as well. You can also check out our Sunday shows, our exclusive Sunday shows. Things like Porch to Pew, which is Oogie's Sunday broadcast. The Gumbo and Gospel from, of course, the very famous Lady A. And several other shows such as Queens of the Blues. And we've got a new one Lady A is kicking off called Black and Blues, which is starting as well, I think, on Tuesdays. So come and check us out, everybody. Check out the music. Take a listen. It is fantastic. And I would appreciate it, of course, because I am part owner in the True Grit Roots Network. And check us out, tgrn.net out of Austin, Texas. And, of course, our TGRN Blues being a part of the True Grit Roots Network. And I thank you very much for that. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty, folks. I'm going to tell you, this audio recording, now I'm not going to play the audio recording for you because, I mean, honestly, you should listen to it. It's about 10 minutes long that is attached to this article from the Daily Mail. But I'm going to tell you, it is very spooky. I mean, if you ever had a question as to how these people, these politicians who literally have no skills outside of maybe some negotiation and writing, that these people get into office, especially in Congress, at a salary of $174,000 a year, they go and will all of a sudden come out of Congress millionaires. I can explain, or at least in part, why. And it comes out from an audio file from March. And I'm not quite sure what this is, like a couple of years ago, where Carrie Lake was talking with Jeff DeWitt. And Jeff DeWitt, for those that don't know, is the chair of the Arizona Republican Party. And he essentially had a meeting with Lake and tried to convince her to get out of politics, not completely, but just for a couple of years, to take a back seat for the time here, for the election in particular. I think it was for the governorship is what it was looking for. And the thing about it is that, you know, he kind of veiled some things in terms of that. And he's, you know, he kind of makes a few vague mention to some big back east money. And what a lot of people don't seem to understand is that politics is big money. In fact, I personally think that one of the biggest mistakes that the Congress has actually made was in allowing big corporations to make massive amounts of donations to people. And I really think that that is one of the biggest problems, or one of the biggest challenges that we have today, is that you have this massive money machine out there to go and create and try and control, and especially try and control, but influence and get these people to vote in certain ways. Whether it's for the people or not seems to make absolutely zero difference. And this, to me, is probably why, I mean, honestly, there's very, very few people in this world, and especially very few people who are in Congress and in in places today where money doesn't affect them. Now, it's, this is I actually think this is really part of the reason, why the mainstream media, the machine, is out to get Trump, is because of the fact that Trump is essentially immune and impervious to stuff like this. Now, whether or not you can actually influence him in other ways, I don't know, but it's the money that is the big part. And because Trump is completely free and clear in terms of the money, he doesn't care. He can't be bought. And I feel like this particular thing, this particular item proves this. So, sorry. My bad. I had that light off or okay. So this particular thing, that's live broadcasting. So anyway, in the Daily Mail, they were talking about this audio recording that came out. Now, the biggest thing, of course, is when the person, when DeWitt keeps talking about, hey, how much would it take? How much would it take for you to, step back for 2 years and come back in 2 years? And, it just, I'm sorry, folks. I didn't mean to light that off. I should have turned it off. I wasn't paying attention. My bad. All the rumblers are starting to cry again because Taps is very emotional. But anyway, so what he is doing, and again, keep in mind, this is the Republican Party here. And if you think that the Republicans are any less, influenced by money, you're completely wrong. So the entire situation that we're dealing with here, this just highlights and is just one example. And I have it on good authority from a couple other places that this does happen. It happens all the time. It happens in business. People who want to get contracts, especially very lucrative contracts. And if you're in control of doling out those contracts, there's a lot of potential money, favors, whatever else that can be made for this. And if you listen to this tape, it's amazing. It's not even just the money. I mean, there's even promises of allowing you to get in as a U.S. senator or whatever. But here's the thing. If on the off chance that somebody, unlike Carrie Lake, because Carrie Lake flat refused, she turned it down. But if these people get their hooks into you, that's it. You're done. See, what a lot of people don't understand is that the minute that you say yes to one thing, you've become their slave. You've become essentially their bitch for your entire career. And it doesn't take much money to do this. This is one of the reasons why, if I were to ever get into politics, I would have to be very, very cautious and careful, because there is no way that I myself would want to get bought by people. There's just no way that I couldn't do it. From an integrity standpoint, I couldn't do it, which is part of the reason why I can't get into politics. Because number one, I'm honest, and number two, I have integrity. I have ethics. I have morals. I have standards. It appears, at least from this audio tape, that Carrie Lake does as well. Now, the good news is that because this tape is leaked, DeWitt resigned today. So he went ahead and stepped down. He did the honorable thing, which, to me, he should have been doing the honorable thing a long time ago. Told them all to F off. But anyway, he did the honorable thing and he decided to go ahead and step down. So now, the question, of course, is going to be, what does this, where does this go? And what happens moving further from here. Now, I've heard, but I don't know for sure, but I've heard that DeWitt is attempting to say that Carrie Lake is planning on defaming her or is working on defaming her. And realistically, I mean, obviously this is going to get ugly, just like pretty much everything else is going to get ugly. We do not have, in today's day and age, very, very few of our elected representatives are of the moral mindset that our founding fathers were. Okay. When you look at, and when you look in the past and I have 100% complete respect. In fact, I just picked up a bunch of books. I'm going to start reading hopefully soon on the founding fathers. I've got a book on George Washington I picked up. I've got a book on John Adams and of course, James Madison. And those men, to be able to stand up and essentially, like George Washington, for an example, he is, in my mind, he's the best example, because back when he was president, being the first president and having served 2 terms, he started the trend of, hey, I've been in, I've done what I needed to do. Now it's time for me to step out and let somebody else in and let them do it. And this is where, again, integrity, ethics, values, standards, principles, these are all pieces and parts to the entire same cog that we no longer have in the majority of our elected representatives today. And it's those people that we really need to highlight. We have a few, and I don't know for sure. I mean, I don't want to name any names because, again, I get the feeling there's a few of them out there. But the thing is that we need to pay attention to our elected representatives. This is why paying attention to politics is such a big deal, that the American people of today don't seem to get it. Politics is completely, this is a Dan Bongino quote, politics is pictures and sound bites, or snapshots and sound bites is what he says. It's trying to present the image of being, an integrity, filled with integrity and ethics and so on and so forth. I don't think a lot of our representatives, even though they try. I mean, look at Joe Biden. Joe Biden was in office for, 47, 50 years or whatever. He is the quintessential politician. He lied, plagiarized, used his influence to gain 10% off of all kinds of freaking untoward deals, backroom deals and business deals. He's the quintessential what is today's politician. And what we need to do is make absolutely certain that our newest politicians coming in have these kinds of stand up and take the hit scenario moving forward, if we can. And I know there are times where you have no other choice. For an example, you have a choice of 2 bad options, for a president or whatever. There are times that you can't make the best pick. But realistically, what we need to do, folks, as patriots, as Americans, we need to stand behind the people that show us and demonstrate to us that they have integrity, ethics, principles, standards. Those are the ones who should be run. Those are the ones who should be running and in politics. And unfortunately, it's those kinds of folks that don't want to get into politics just for that reason. All right, enough about that. So, another thing that happened, and I'm telling you, I'm telling you, this entire situation with Texas is going to give the American people a master class in not only constitutionalism, but also federalism as well. For those of you that may not know, and I'm going to suggest that you take out your Constitution. If you have a copy of the Constitution in front of you, I would suggest you take a gander at Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, where there is a promise that's put out. And I'm going to read it for you here real quick. Article 4, Section 4 states, "The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government, and shall protect each of them against invasion, and on application of the legislature or of the executive, when the legislature cannot be convened, against domestic violence." This is a contract that was written and given to the states by the federal government, that they would protect them from invasion, and that they would protect them from domestic violence as well. Joe Biden, as of right now, in my mind, is completely in violation of his oath to the Constitution, and to follow the Constitution, and to do what the Constitution states. Well, SCOTUS ruled, and of course, if you're watching on Rumble, you see these two liberal idiots that are above me in the terms of Chief Justice John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett. Those two, I'm sorry, they're not conservatives, especially John Roberts. John Roberts is not a conservative. He's a liberal judge. As far as Amy Coney Barrett is concerned, she's just going to apparently sycophantically follow whatever John Roberts says. But here's the thing. So they just ruled on the stay of an order that was put into place to prevent the federal government from cutting the razor wire or the concertina wire along the border that Texas had put into place. Okay. They basically said, no, the federal government can go in and cut and remove this razor wire. Well, obviously, when we extend that a little bit more, obviously there is a bit of a problem, and Texas, I got to tell you, you don't mess with Texas. There's a reason why they have that name or that motto, "Don't mess with Texas." Well, Governor Abbott has basically said, "Yeah, I don't believe in that. We're not going to deal with this." And he put out a statement. Now this article from the Daily Wire doesn't call it out. It's basically just saying this isn't over. But right before I came on the show tonight and started to broadcast, he put out a written statement that essentially says, yeah, we're not giving up our spot along especially the Eagle Pass. We are going to constitutionally defend our border because the federal government has violated their contract with us, essentially, to protect us from an invasion. And he is doubling down. In fact, the Texas National Guard is adding more concertina wire as we speak. They are going and adding more concertina wire. In fact, there's videos of the Texas National Guard putting out the concertina wire, which has prompted a bunch of Democrat senators and congressmen to basically say that Joe Biden has to federalize the National Guard. Now, I'm going to tell you, as a person who is a former military individual, when you stand up and take the oath of office for the enlisted, okay, there is a part where it talks about following the orders of the president and the officers appointed over me. However, There is another part that talks about in accordance with the UCMJ, or the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Now, when you read that Uniform Code of Military Justice, there is a part of the Uniform Code of Military Justice that specifically states that you do not have to follow any orders that are unlawful. In other words, you do not have to follow any orders that are unconstitutional. And I'm sincerely hoping that the Texas National Guard, if they end up getting federalized, basically go and essentially say, double-barreled, family-friendly. This isn't the family-friendly version, but double-barreled middle finger to their officers or the President of the United States. Unconstitutional orders and unlawful orders are not supposed to be followed. And I'm hoping and praying that Texas can hold the line when it comes to this. And can hold the line when it comes to this. I am right in the line with Texas. This is unconstitutional what they are trying to do. And as I just was saying, Texas defies the feds, and we will continue to deploy razor wire, according to this article in Breitbart. And they are continuing to deploy. The Texas Military Department, which is the Texas National Guard, says it will continue to hold the line in Shelby Park in their efforts to deter and prevent unlawful entry into the state of Texas. And under Operation Lone Star, orders from Governor Greg Abbott, the Texas National Guard's actions continue, despite a second demand letter from the Department of Homeland Security to release control of the park seized by the state earlier this month. Folks, this right here, this is the pinnacle moment of our generation. This right here is going to give everyone a master class in not only the Constitution, but also federalism as a whole. And I've also heard rumors, although I can't confirm anything yet, but I've also heard rumors that there is a convoy of semis that are heading down to the passes or down to Texas to block off the roadways that are coming in to the country as well. That they're going to basically do the same type of thing that they did on the Canadian border just within the last couple of years. I am also telling you now that there is a statement. There is a statement that was put out by Ron DeSantis of Florida. Now, this is where Ron DeSantis made his bones as being a governor. He has sent Florida National Guard troops to go help the Texas National Guard troops. And he literally has stated that he will continue to do so. So we're starting to seriously look at Florida and Texas jumping into this and showing Joe Biden and the rest of the world that the way that federalism works and the way our system actually works is that you have the people at the top, you have the states next, and the federal government is supposed to be the smallest and least powerful in the trio. That is the way it's going to work. That's what's going to happen here, folks. 2024 is going to be explosive, and I pray that we do not move from a Cold War into a hot war. But I can tell you right now, Texas Abbott is calling Biden's hand. It's like they're sitting there in front of each other with poker hands, and they both think they've got a full house or a straight, a royal flush or something along those lines. One of them's got to blink. And right now, The state of Texas has got the Constitution in their very corner. This is going to happen, folks. I don't know what to tell you. And also, by the way, when you remember when I just read this. I read Article 4, Section 4, where it talks about invasion. Well, this came up in Just the News. The 51st Texas county declares an invasion. They are declaring an invasion at the southern border. This Montgomery County have called on county officials to declare an invasion for over a year and a half. And now they've done it. Montgomery County officials unanimously passed a resolution declaring an invasion and expressing support for Greg Abbott's border security mission, Operation Lone Star. After the vote on Tuesday, Montgomery County Judge Mark Keogh said he wanted to say something in response to the Supreme Court ruling yesterday to allow border agents to remove Texas barriers. I believe it's time for Texas to show some civil disobedience. It's coming, folks. Now, Tommy is saying that's actually north of Houston. You know what? I'm sorry. If I said it was on the border, I apologize. But here's the thing. The entire state of Texas, for those of you that don't understand, the counties on the border, they are getting flooded. But you also have to understand, too, that a lot of these illegal aliens that are coming across are moving north. They're being sent north. They're going up north. They are moving. I mean, you can look at Chicago. You can look at New York. You can look at all of these cities up north. This should be the entire freaking country screaming at this. And as of right now, it seems to be only Texas that is standing up. Now, for those of you that don't understand history, Texas actually used to be its own country before it decided to join the Union in the United States. If you've ever heard of the Republic of Texas, that used to be what Texas was. They won their independence from Mexico. Remember the thing called the Alamo? Texas. I'm going to tell you, don't mess with Texas. Texas is going to get, like I said, they're going to push this and push it and push it until somebody blinks. And this very well could be the start of Civil War 2.0. It's already in a Cold War situation, I'm telling you right now. We are in Civil War 2.0, but we're in it from a cold perspective, meaning that things have not heated up enough to get to actual arms. But it's coming. It's coming. I'm telling you, it's coming. And the sad part about all of this is the fact that Joe Biden has literally no constitutional leg to stand on here, because he swore an oath that he was going to execute the office of the president to the best of his ability. Part of that has to deal with immigration laws and enforcing immigration law. He hasn't been doing that. He's been skirting it. And so now what's occurring here is we are starting to see where the state of Texas is standing up and saying, you need to start honoring your oath. You need to start honoring your contract with the states that is outlined in the United States Constitution. I mean, I hate to say it, I'm kind of excited, to be honest with you, because I've been going on, and not in a bad way. Please do not take that the wrong way. I am not excited for war. I am not excited for a civil war, but I am excited for the fact that the Constitution is now, somebody is now actually standing up for this. I personally, and I've said it on this program myself multiple times, I personally think the 10th Amendment is one of the most unused amendments in the Constitution. And I honestly believe that the 10th Amendment should start to be enforced as judiciously as possible. But this kind of a situation is not going to be fought in the courts. This kind of a situation is going to be who blinks first or who's got the most resolve in doing it. And I sincerely hope that the federal government comes to its senses and backs down and realizes this is not a winning thing. Or even better yet, that Biden loses in November and we get a real president in the White House. But it has to be even more than that, folks. Trump can do a lot, but he can't do it all. And there are plenty of individuals who are in both the House of Representatives and the Senate who need to lose their seats. I don't care if they are Democrat or Republican. If they are not upholding their oath to the Constitution, they need to go. End of story. They need to get out. If they're compromised, they need to leave. Simple as that. And we need to get strict constitutional conservatives back into our government system. That's what we need. You know, I've been looking at a new party called the Constitution Party, and I've been checking them out. They're small. They're not there just yet. They're not in all 50 states, but I've been looking at them, and I think other people should start looking at them too. They have some values and some things that they stand up for and talk about, and I think it should happen. I think we need to get rid of both parties. We need to get rid of these continual career bureaucrats, these career politicians. We need to get rid of all of them. And I'm not talking about like killing them. I mean getting them out of office. Kick them out, get them out of politics completely. We need to start paying attention to this. You know, Teddy Roosevelt wrote a complete speech about and I think it was one of his, it might have even been his inaugurating speech. I'll have to find it again. But he wrote a speech where he clearly talked about the politics and how people have to get into politics. That we have to pay attention to politics. We've allowed politics to go away for long enough. And I know that sounds a little strange, you know, but we need to start paying attention because, you know, we are in a situation right now where we have to understand that what these people are doing far away in that city was not what our founders intended. Our founders intended that those people far away in another city would not affect your lives very often. And this is part of the reason why we need essentially the idea, and again, go back to the ideals, that the federal government is limited in size and scope. And I'm sorry, it's going to sound really bad, but that includes all of these special social programs and everything else that we have. I know there's people out there. I know I've got whiskey warriors that some are going to be out there and depending on this stuff. But the federal government needs to get neutered fast with a quickness. And it needs to go back inside its constitutional boundaries. If it doesn't show up in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, then it falls to the 10th Amendment. That should be the mantra moving forward. And if it falls to the 10th Amendment, which essentially states that if it doesn't show up in the Constitution, nor specifically prohibited by it to the states, then it is a states' rights and a people issue. It has nothing to do with the federal government. We're talking about stuff like abortion. We're talking about stuff like Medicare. We're talking about stuff like Social Security. We're talking about all of these things that FDR put into place and all this other stuff. It all needs to go. The Department of Education, it all needs to go. The FBI, all needs to go. All needs to go. If it's not and this includes all of the laws written by Congress, if it does not specifically deal with one of the things that are a constitutional mandated responsibility of the federal government, it needs to go. It's out. That's what needs to happen. All right. Okay, so we had a few more things get uncovered, all right, over the last couple of days. And I'm going to tell you right now, the 2024, I think the more we dig, the more we find. And for those of us, we're starting to really realize that we need to keep digging. We can't just be satisfied with what we've uncovered so far. We have to keep digging. Okay? We have to keep digging. This is extremely, extremely important. Well, I don't know if anybody noticed, but and I think I talked about it on the last program, where the state of Georgia released documents from a lawsuit, a court, it was court documents, where they essentially proved, there was a third-party person who essentially proved that the Dominion machines could get hacked with a pen. Okay? Well, now we have another thing that is interesting that just came out. The Department of Homeland Security essentially has said, obviously 2020 was the most secure election we've ever had. But unfortunately, the Department of Homeland Security was warning about the integrity of mail-in voting in 2020. But at the same time, also censored questions regarding it. The Department of Homeland Security's Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, was aware of the issues with mail-in voting during the 2020 election cycle, but censored social media narratives about the risks versus alleged disinformation, according to agency documents. Okay, now I'm just going to point this out to you because I keep getting these completely moronic, dumbass liberals on X who keep saying, no, Biden didn't do anything. Biden didn't censor American people. Biden, it follows the Constitution. It's Trump that doesn't follow the Constitution. Well, guess what? You liberal dipwads. Okay? Here it is right here. It's in their own agency documents that they themselves were working with the social media networks to censor narratives. Censored narratives. We have Missouri versus Biden, which, by the way, has actually changed names now that it's going to the Supreme Court. It's no longer Missouri v. Biden. I think it's like Murty v. Biden, or Murty v. in the v versus the United States. But anyway, I digress. The point here is that we have plenty of information now that the federal government has actively participated in getting non-governmental organizations in order to do what it constitutionally can't. The documents were released on Monday by America First Legal, showing the agency's concerns about mail-in voting, while it was also monitoring online opinions about such concerns. This is a quote from an American First Legal senior counselor and director of oversight and investigations by the name of Reed Rubenstein. Quote, these documents demonstrate federal bureaucrats knew that there was no credible evidence supporting the claim that in-person voting spread COVID-19 and that mail-in and absentee voting was indeed less secure than in-person voting, precisely as President Trump, Attorney General Barr, and others have warned. Folks, the more we dig, the more we find. We got to keep digging. We've got to keep questioning. I'm going to do that on this program. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm going to do that on this program. I'm not going to stop. This program is going to be as honest and as truth and as forthright as I possibly can make it. We can't sit on the sidelines anymore. And my patriotism is not going to let me do that. I swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States in 1990. I have never been relieved of that oath, and I am going to uphold it to the best of my ability moving forward. He continues, quote, yet the government and its allied social media and legacy media companies covered up the truth, using unlawful censorship and bogus fact checks to advance mass vote-by-mail schemes. This mail-in ballot cover-up, like Russia collusion, Ukraine impeachment, and the Hunter Biden laptop suppression, shows how deep state bureaucrats, liberal operatives, and their corporate allies combined to interfere in our presidential elections. It is a monumental scandal. Now, American First Legal, according to the article, is suing CISA for the 2020 records for its mis, dis, and malinformation team. According to records obtained by American First Legal from its lawsuit, CISA knew that the mail-in and absentee voting are less secure than voting in person. America First Legal has represented Just the News in some Freedom of Information Act cases. You thought 2020 was secure. Bullshit. 2020 was not the most secure. 2020 was where they changed the voting laws in order to get things like mail-in voting and drop ballots and all this other stuff to avoid in-person voting and everything else. That's what they did. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, here in Washington, we've had mail-in voting because some dipwads decided that it was more convenient. But I'm going to tell you right now, I still do not believe, and I'm going to be completely honest, I don't have any backup information for this other than observing 3 separate counts under the Gregoire v. Rossi debacle until the Democrats got the win that they wanted. For those of you that don't know, we had a Dino Rossi was challenging Christine Gregoire for the governorship. Dino Rossi, the first count won. They recounted, and magically, while they were recounting, there were ballots that just showed up out of car trunks and cabinets and cabinet spaces and things like, oh, we didn't count these. Here's another bag. But the second count, once again, Dino Rossi won. They decided to do a third count. And on that third count, again, magically, some votes showed up out of nowhere. Oh, well, this was, locked in a truck. This just, showed up out of nowhere. Oh, hey, we had this bag. It was stuck in a closet, in a broom closet back in the back corner. Why would it even be there in the first place? But they went ahead and recounted a third time. And it was that third count that magically, all of a sudden, Christine Gregoire got the votes needed in order to defeat Dino Rossi. And it was that third count that they actually took. We haven't had, in my opinion, we haven't had a secure and safe election here in Washington since. Speaking of Washington, just on a kind of a side note, our Governor Inslee, put out a post talking about a person who was there on January 6th and basically had some sort of an interview where he said that he would do whatever he did on January 6th all over again. And Governor Inslee was saying, "Oh, Trump wants to pardon this kind of person because that was the insurrection-y. That was the worst day of whatever, blah blah blah." And I politely reminded him on X, I was like, "Hey, Governor Idiot, did you forget about the Chaz Chop, where they actually did an insurrection and took over a few blocks in the city? The one that you kind of forgot about, or better yet, didn't even know about." He has promised that he's not running for governor in the state of Washington again, even though technically by law he actually can, because here in the state of Washington we do not have a term limit like they do in Florida. But he said that he is not running again. However, his replacement, Bob Ferguson, is probably just as bad, if not worse, than Governor Inslee. If you happen to live in Washington, I highly recommend that you look at either Dave Reichert. He's kind of, look at Dave Reichert or Semi Bird. Dave Reichert or Semi Bird for governor in those two cases. Don't even look at freaking Bob Ferguson. Bob Ferguson is our AG, and he's been slapped a bunch of times for trying to do things that are not quite within the law, and he's paid fines for it. Anyway, enough talking about that. All right. Now, here's another Just the News article that kind of throws me off a little bit, because I don't understand why there's not more than what's being presented in this poll. But apparently there was a poll that was put out, and nearly a third of voters lack confidence in the 2024 presidential election. Only 37% indicated that they were very confident that votes would be counted accurately in the November election. The Center Square Voters Voice poll, conducted in conjunction with Nobel Predictive Insights, shows that most Americans have faith that the votes will be counted correctly, and the true winner of the contest will assume the role of the presidency. However, among likely voters, only 37% indicated that they were very confident that this would happen. An additional 28% were somewhat confident. But in contrast, 19% said they were not very confident, and 13% said they were not confident at all. Now, for those of you that don't do math that quickly, that's around 22% that are pretty much not confident in anything whatsoever. Yeah, Jarhead, I agree with you. I would love to be able to do that, but there's other things that can't do anything with. And Coco, yeah, I've looked at Wyoming. I've looked at Montana, Idaho, so on and so forth. I mean, there's a lot of them. But anyway, why people are still on the mindset that that 2020 was secure and that 2024 is going to be any less. Yeah. Tommy, come on back down to Texas. There's good reasons to go that way. And you're right. Not Austin, Houston, or Dallas. Gee, I wonder what's common across those three. Anyway. So 2024, I'm telling you, we haven't fixed some states have fixed some of their stuff. or at least tried to get it corrected. But I'm telling you, 2024, if at any way, shape, or form, seriously, anything, we need to, the 2024 is going to be the pinnacle vote in, within my lifetime for sure. And believe me, I go back all the way back to, Ronald Reagan getting voted in. In fact, I can remember when he got voted in. So anyway, folks, this is the pinnacle vote of our lifetimes. We cannot allow this to go away. And you know what? Even though CISA has, hold on. I skipped my last break, but I'm going to go ahead and do this one. Let me go ahead and tell you about the wonderful product that I have sitting right here. You've seen me already grab this document already tonight. This is the Constitution of the United States, and this comes in a fabulous Saddleback leather-bound edition. You have got to check this out. This has got 1/8 of an inch of leather as the outside cover. The inside has got tear-resistant and water-resistant pages. And just check out this fantastic stitching that goes all the freaking way through the leather and everything else. They have a 100-year warranty against manufacturing defects and material defects that they will either fix or replace this document for you if it ever falls apart. I'm being told by all of my whiskey warriors over on Rumble that it has thick around its corners. It is Buddy approved. It is Billy tasted. And my youngest whiskey warrior, I mention him all the time, which reminds me, I gotta check in with him, find out what's going on with him. But my youngest whiskey warrior used this in order to get his Civics badge in Scouts. So we know that the information inside this is true, correct, and accurate. Do me a favor, head on over to constitution.whiskeymusings.online and pick your copy up today. It is a hit. It is fantastic. And as 3 Chevy says, all of the amendments are in numerical order. It is fantastic. Constitution.whiskeymusings.online to pick up your copy of this fantastic and incredible founding document of the greatest country to ever grace this planet, the United States of America. Go to constitution.whiskeymusings.online and you can use it when I start talking about the Constitution and places in the Constitution, like I just read about Article 4, Section 4. You can look for it yourself. Go ahead and grab it, constitution.whiskeymusings.online, and support the show in the process. Once again, that's constitution.whiskeymusings.online. Pick up your copy today. And of course, I thank the Institute on the Constitution for allowing me to be an affiliate of theirs. All right, so the cover-up of what happened on January 6th has since been found. Another angle has since been found out. We actually have a couple different angles, but this one in particular piqued my interest. So apparently, according to this article in Fox News, House January 6th committee deleted more than 100 encrypted files days before the GOP took the majority. Now, Senator, I think it's Senator. Is it Senator? No, Representative Loudermilk has since been able to recover some of these things. And they have gone and recovered some of these documents, but it turns out that these documents that they were encrypted. And so now Loudermilk is demanding that the January 6th chairman, Thompson, provide the passwords for the encrypted files. Now this obviously is I need access for this content. I don't have it out here, but I'm basically going to tell you they literally took, so they encrypted the files. Then they went ahead and deleted them, and somehow either somebody left them in their trash or whatever. I'm going to tell you, being an IT person, unless you do something very specific and overwrite the data, okay, you are not going to necessarily delete all the data. The little ones and zeros, the magnet on the hard drive still has those ones and zeros there. I've used freeware programs to recover files myself. There are methodologies of getting rid of it, but just going and saying, hey, I'm just going to delete this file, all that does is actually take the directory, the indicator, the pointer that is used to find the exact location of that file on your disk and delete just the pointer. The data is still there, and that's what's happened here, is that they were able to recover the data, but now it's encrypted. And so because it's encrypted, the Loudermilk is essentially saying, hey, we need that password. We need to understand what's here. So the question that everyone has to ask, of course, first of all, I understand encrypting it. You want to make sure that if you get hacked or something like that, that information doesn't need to be necessarily open in the public sphere. However, this is a public hearing that should have been open in terms of, again, that whole FOIA request, the Freedom of Information Act requests, those kinds of things. That's why government can't hide documents for very long, or at least they're not supposed to. But anyway, the point being here is that they were encrypted, but then even worse is, why did they delete them? Especially right before the Republicans took the majority. Well, my guess is it actually contains exculpatory or exonerating information for a lot of the people who have been, and especially even for like Donald Trump, have been ridiculed and persecuted and gone after for January 6th. That is my guess. And so I'm really going to have to see down the road if hopefully this comes out before 2024 soon. But yeah, this is just wild. The more that we dig, the more that we find. Now, there's an absolute fantastic great piece. So two things happened on January 6th. Okay. The first one was, of course, the supposed insurrection, admittedly a riot in some places and not others, peaceful protests in other places. Okay. But the second thing, which nobody is talking about, is the reported explosive devices that have shown up at the DNC and the RNC and that were reported. Now, Dan Bongino has been going after this. Sean Parnell has also been going after this. But there are other really good journalists that are also going after this. One of them being this person, hat tip to Dan Bongino for pointing this out to me, because I was listening on his broadcast today. But Declassified with Julie Kelly, you should grab this. I'm telling you, grab the link. And you have to come and you have to read this thing. They are asking questions, serious questions about the video that is showing, that shows that government entities such as the Capitol Police and the Secret Service literally didn't respond in a way that you would consider they should be responding to this reported bomb incident, that this bomb was there at the DNC. And what's even more a question is, why would Kamala Harris be actually at the DNC rather than getting all of her accolades up on Capitol Hill as she becomes the first female, the first person of color vice president ever in history. She should have been at the Capitol. Most intelligent people know that she should have been there, sitting there and just bathing in the limelight for the historic the historic event that is her vice presidency. And yet she was at the DNC. Now, what's even more of a question is the fact that most of these people are kind of like paparazzis or paparazzos, I guess. I don't know however you want to call it. They're followed by reporters. They're followed by reporters all the time. Okay. And for her to be able to slip away from the Capitol building at the time that she was, right before the historic event that would seal her as the first female and person of color vice president in history, she supposedly slips away and is at the DNC, and nobody knew about it except for, of course, her security detail. Now, what's even better of a question also is not so much that she was there, but why is it that literally no one is talking about the attempted assassination via the bomb of the newly elected historical vice president of the United States? And that's what this article, which I highly encourage you to read, is actually asking. Okay. They are actually asking. Julie Kelly is actually asking these questions. And these are all questions that all of us should be asking. We should all be digging into this. And I personally am not going to let this go. I'm going to keep trying to keep talking about it, keep putting it out here. That's what I'm going to do. Now, what is also up for a lot of question is whether or not, because of course we're coming up to February 8th. And February 8th, for those of you that may not know, it's a very momentous date. It is when the SCOTUS will actually hear arguments on whether or not Donald Trump can be removed from the ballot due to the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, assuming that he participated in the insurrection. Now, the funny thing about that entire thing, as I've mentioned and maintained for many, many months now, there was no insurrection. There was no coordination. There was no evidence, and even the FBI has said so, that there was any kind of coordination between Donald Trump and the rest of the people who have been arrested by this. However, I'm an American. I am a conservative. I am a constitutional conservative. And so apparently my opinion means bupkis. But what does matter is when you get normal left-leaning pundits to basically say the exact same thing. I know many of my Whiskey Warriors don't have X accounts, but let me just show you Glenn Greenwald. Now, Glenn Greenwald, I don't know his politics. I've never really followed him. All I can tell you is what I've been hearing, and that is essentially that he is not he's kind of like Bill Maher. He's not exactly center of the road. He's leaning a little left. He is, again, kind of more of a, like your classic liberal, I guess, more so, or classic Democrat than what the Democrat left is today. But you got to check this thing out. Here, I'm going to play this because this is just fantastic. He does a complete takedown. Now, just to set this video up here, okay, just to set this video up here, they had for Zero Hedge had a forum put together, about 4 or 5 different people, to talk about this. You'll see Alex Jones is there, and then you'll see this other person who Glenn Greenwald just literally rips apart. Now, somebody took the video and added some graphics and some sound effects. I think it's really funny, but you need to listen to this video. Here we go.
Was this an attempted coup? You guys think this was an attempted coup?
Of course it was. Obviously it was. An attempted coup. What is that if not a coup? Coup or an insurrection? Attempted coup. It's an attempted coup. A coup. It's a coup. Definition of a coup. Definition of a coup.
If this were a coup, why didn't Trump order the military to seize control of the power and turn over the election process to him? Why didn't he order the armed factions that form the law enforcement part of the military and the executive branch that serve under his command to do that as well? That's what happens in a coup. That didn't happen here because Trump wasn't trying to perpetrate a coup. On top of that, none of the videotapes that were available was made available to the public except for very deceitfully chosen snippets. And it was only within the last several months that we saw all of the video footage. And what it showed makes a joke of the idea that this was a coup. If he had ordered the military or some other FBI or any of those agencies, the CIA, to go and use violence on domestic soil in order to ignore those court rulings the way people do when they're trying to implement coups, you would have a good argument. He didn't do any of that. He invoked all of his legal rights in the judiciary and in the Congress. He lost and he walked out of the White House on January 20th. He did not have to be dragged out. He wasn't arrested by the military, which is what happens in coups. So much of this is because you only started paying attention to politics in 2016. You only live in the United States. You have no idea about history or anything that happens in other countries. You have no idea what a coup is. The reason it matters, Destiny, is because if you're going to make arguments, there has to be an important test, which is, do you apply the same principles you're claiming to profess and believe in to cases where it undermines your partisan allegiance and your ideology, not only where it helps it? That's one of the key tests for determining the authenticity of your argument. And so if you don't think the 2020 protest movement was an insurrectionary movement against the United States government, there's no way to claim what January 6th was, especially since Trump could have done so much more to cause a coup that he did not do because that wasn't his aim ever.
Oh, my neck! You got knocked the fuck out, man!
Was this an attempted coup? You guys think this?
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I just love the very ending with the I just love the ending. Oh, I forgot to warn you guys about that. But I mean, Glenn lays it out. He lays it all the freaking way out. There is no way that January 6th was an insurrection or a coup. Anyone who believes the mainstream media narrative at this point in time has got to be a complete, they must not have like two brain cells to rub together. Okay. There is just no way whatsoever. And I have been taking that. Oh, Jarhead, I know you want a link. It's in the show notes, dude. It's in the description of the video. It is in the description of the video. And I actually have been taking it and like posting it everywhere on X. Every time I say, when somebody comes out talking about the insurrection and Donald Trump initiated it and so on and so forth, the minute I see that, the first thing I do is I jump in and I say there was no insurrection. And when they come back and they say something like, oh, you're delusional, you're drinking the Kool-Aid or whatever, I just simply put, even Glenn Greenwald throws this out there. And I put in the link. I'm telling you, folks, we are starting to have a movement where people are beginning to wake up. They are starting to realize, even some of the more typical, not so good Democrats are starting to realize that maybe they put their eggs into a basket that they definitely do not want moving forward. Okay. But here's part of the problem. You have the extremist wing that is out there. Okay. You have the extremist wing that is out there. And unfortunately, I don't know if you caught my broadcast here in the last couple of times, last couple of days, last couple of transmissions. But the government really has been watching you. Jim Jordan put out a memo, or put out a X, or whatever you want to call it, and was saying that the government was encouraging banks to flag transactions with words such as MAGA and Trump and those kinds of things in the transactional records of the bank transactions and the bank accounts. And he also was asking the questions in terms of the Bibles and so on and so forth. That honestly, I mean, again, our government is spying on us. They are watching us. I know for a fact I'm probably on some, well, I don't know this for a fact, but I am guessing more than likely that I am on some government list somewhere because of my viewpoints. But that being said, this opinion piece, I really think you guys should grab this and read this. This comes from Town Hall, and it's Scott Hoganson, who basically puts in this opinion piece. Maybe they really do hate us. And he's talking in specifics about the revelation of Jim Jordan in regards to this. Okay. And you got to read this piece, but you'll also notice that the picture, if you're on Rumble, if you're listening on audio, I'll go ahead and say this. It's a picture of somebody holding up the Holy Bible. They actually do hate us. In fact, it's gotten even so bad that they are starting to target children. Okay. Let me explain what I mean. There is a young lady on X. She is underage, so I'm not going to tell you her age, but she is underage. She goes by the screen handle Jordan Brace 8. She received a death threat in her text of her phone. So somebody went through and found her telephone number and sent her a death threat directly. And I'm showing you this on the screen. I'm not going to read through the whole thing other than the fact that it says, so basically, I called to let you know that you're going to die in the next 3 days. Like, I don't know how it happened, but we were like, we really need to talk. So when you get this message, call me back. And if you don't recognize who I am, then I'll just let you know. But give me a call because I can't really text over this right now because it's like really urgent. She got a death threat, folks. Death threat. This is a young girl. She is underage. She has a very active X account. And she is a extreme Trump supporter. I've offered to have her come on the program. I sent her a message out, on X. It was public. I don't know if she saw it or not. I try not to DM her because obviously her parents are watching the account. That she makes that extremely known. But here's the thing. These people are so disgusting that they have to go after an underage, and she makes her age apparent. She does not hide this at all. And she makes it clear in her post that her parents are watching her account. I hope they find whoever this dirtbag is and they put him away for as long as they can. Now, I fully expect, given my particular positions, I fully expect that I am probably going to end up getting some hate mail and things like that. I fully expect it. I fully expect it. And you know what? I don't care. I'm a big boy. I'm old enough to handle it. I got thick skin. Come at me. I've already been called dirty names and stuff on X and other social media outlets. I don't care. For any of you who are a leftist, lunatic, nut job, nut bag, I do not have one iota of a care for your opinion. I don't care. You are, as far as I'm concerned, the lowest form of life that we have on this planet. You are a moron. You are a sycophant. You are an idiot. And I am not going to take it from you at all. Coco Dominky asks, what's her handle? Her handle is at Jordan Brace 8. And actually she is starting a podcast. So this is part of the reason why I wanted to throw this out, is that she also has a podcast as well. And go and find her on YouTube as well as on Rumble. She has them both. And you can go and follow her at both places. And she has a fledgling. She just started it. I think she has maybe 3 episodes or something. But anyway, go and support her. Go and follow her and support her. She's on X. I know that. I don't know if she's anywhere else in terms of like True Social or any of that stuff. But I fully expect, folks, as time goes on, and especially as this particular show starts growing, that we're going to see all kinds of bullshit out there. And I'm just saying, you know what, folks? You guys are come at me. I don't care. I'm a big boy. I can handle it. But don't go after young, underage kids. You're going to fuck around and you're going to find out. That's all I got to say. We've got to support each other, folks. We've got to support each other in these endeavors. The 2024, it's going to get dark. This is essentially like the death song or the death knell of what is essentially the Democrat Party. If we can perform this correctly and get Donald Trump in the House and get the Republicans into the House and the Senate. If we can do that, folks, we're going to be good. But this is, I know that a lot of people, there's a bunch of rhetoric and stuff out there. I've never really said this before, but this literally is the defining election of our lifetime. This is our defining moment, and we need to take and understand that and get this taken care of. All right, let's see. I've got a few minutes left, so let me go ahead. I don't have a pet of the week, but I can tell you that Outlaw Dogs has done me a favor and put together a short video of some dogs doing some funny things. And so what we are going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play that video for you guys as a representation of Pet of the Week. But before I do, if you would like your pet featured on Pet of the Week, which is my Wednesday night segment, do me a favor, send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at whiskeymusings.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at whiskeymusings.online. And submit your pet. Give me pictures, name, story, whatever behind it. That would be absolutely fantastic for next week. I would love to do that. But again, before we go, I want to go ahead and play this. And let me get rid of this thing here. But I want to go ahead and play this video for you. So here it is, a video put together by our very own Outlaw Dogs over on Rumble for tonight's Pet of the Week.
What the
All right. And that rounds out the show. Hey, I've got one more thing, actually. Sorry, I've got one more thing. I have had a request from a longtime P1 listener. And so I'm going to do it tonight, but I need you guys to let me know in the chat real quick whether or not you think that this is something that I should end the show with at least once a week, if not both. And that essentially is finishing out with the Pledge of Allegiance. So let's go ahead and do it tonight. We're going to do it tonight, but do me a favor and let me know in the chat if this is something that you want me to incorporate as a regular occurrence thing with the show. So I'm going to ask everyone to bring your hat, cover your hand, or put your hand over your heart, remove your hats, and so on and so forth. And let's go ahead and finish out the show tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, you can let me know in the comments or in so I'm already getting some yeses, hell yeses. Somebody even suggested, and Nana of JJS suggested that we should start the show with it. That actually is a nice way to do it. Maybe I'll do that. So it looks like everybody's kind of jumping in and saying, yeah, we should do the Pledge of Allegiance for that. So I'll see what I can do to incorporate that into the show. I will catch you at the next broadcast, which will be Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And that is my final Whiskey Musings thought of the evening. Do me a favor, if you like the broadcast, if you like what I do, make sure, hey, help me out, folks. Make sure you share. Get your friends and family and other like-minded individuals to come on over and check out the Whiskey Musings broadcast. Head on over to Rumble, sign up, and make sure that you find the Whiskey Musings broadcast channel and hit that little green follow button. I am approaching 1,000 folks. I think I'm over 630 right now. So really looking to keep this thing going and to push this channel. So I'd really appreciate it if you would help me out and do this grassroots thing and spread this out. We'll see you next time. That'll be this Saturday on the Whiskey Musings broadcast. Hope you have a great rest of your week, and good night, everybody.
The Whiskey Musings broadcast is produced by Active Eye Media, LLC. All rights reserved.